I've logged a few hundred miles on the BlackHeart titanium road bike, or as they call it, the Road Ti, and I want to give you 4 reasons why I think it's better than a carbon road bike, and 1 area where I think carbon still wins. BlackHeart was kind enough to send me their Road Ti to ride, get a feel for, and share my thoughts on it. No money exchanged hands, BlackHeart has no say in the video, and they'll see it at the same time that you do. If you're looking for a first impressions video with the build specs, I'll post the original video up above or down below in the comments. The first reason why I think the BlackHeart Road Ti beats a carbon road bike is ride quality. It's almost a universally accepted fact that titanium frames absorb road chatter and imperfections better than carbon frames. To gauge this, I like to run bikes through a rough section of road near my house, which I call the cobbles of Newport. And every single one of my bikes has seen it. The way the Road Ti dampens road vibrations is incredible, and it's better than any carbon road bike I've ever ridden. The second reason, it's also more durable. Imagine handing your bike over to the TSA agents at the airport without having to cross your fingers and hope that it arrives safely. When I traveled to France over the summer, one of our friends insisted on bringing his titanium moots. Why? Well, because he was more confident that it would arrive in one piece, which it did. The rest of us traveled with our carbon road bikes, and while I wish I could say they all arrived safely, one cracked in transit on the way to France. It's not a great way to start a trip. I can say that during my time with the Road Ti, I felt a little more at ease riding and using it as it was intended. That's not to say that I rode it excessively or used and abused it, it's just that it's not as delicate as carbon while still performing really, really well. And I use the word perform with like an asterisk at the end because there's some preference here compared to a carbon road bike. The handling and cornering of the Road Ti is very stable, well-mannered, and planted. It descends like a dream. I mean, it feels like you're floating above the imperfections of the road, and it gives you a little sense of confidence that allows you to push the envelope just a little bit more. On my typical routes, I approach corners at the same speeds I normally would, and I found that the Road Ti was very confident coming in and out of corners. I didn't get that twitchy feeling that I sometimes get with high-end carbon bikes. But here's where the asterisk comes in. It doesn't ride and corner on that razor's edge that some of us are accustomed to. Some of you might like that, and some of you might not. On faster road group rides, it held its own, but did require a little bit of extra work, and more on that later. What I think most of us can agree on is that there's nothing quite like the classic aesthetics of a titanium road bike. The round tubing, the brushed chrome look, paired with modern touches like the drop seat stays, the carbon one-piece bar stem combo, and the carbon NV fork make for a beautiful bike. Classic meets modern. Add in the out front mount and you have a clean, minimalistic design. It's also worth noting that the branding is subtle and classy. If we're giving it an honest shake against a carbon road bike, I can only compare it against what I've been riding over the last year. The NV Melee, the Allied Alpha, the Rida Esprit, the Specialized Tarmac, both the SL7 and SL8. The comparative trade-offs to the Road Ti are subtle, but noticeable. You just can't have that good of a ride quality without minor trade-offs in performance. If you want a bike that's feather light and designed to cheat the wind at every angle, the Road Ti might not be for you. If I could loosely quantify the difference based on power and some Strava segments, I'd say that you're looking at around a 10-watt difference in normal circumstances, with that delta increasing in stronger winds and as the road pitches up. To be fair, BlackHeart doesn't claim that the Road Ti is in any way competing against the carbon road bikes I've mentioned, but I think the comparison is worth noting. It establishes some kind of performance baseline, and I think that's important. Now, if you're someone who prioritizes ride quality, durability, well-mannered handling, and peak aesthetics, the BlackHeart Road Ti is a great option. And when you consider the reasonable pricing, it's even more appealing. It's realistically the bike that you want to train on, travel with, and live with day in and day out, leaving the complexities and fragility of a carbon race bike for race days and those days where you need every competitive advantage. If I were in the market for a less race-oriented or an endurance carbon road bike, I'd strongly consider ditching the idea of carbon and going with something like the Road Ti. And you know what? For 95% of my rides, it would be the perfect bike. It's a bike that invokes feelings of playfulness, fun, and it produces a little more of a carefree feeling to rides, as opposed to that feeling of like always watching watts and mentally calculating current versus past segment times. That's something that can't be quantified. It's something that you just feel. BlackHeart calls it meditation at speed. I call it pure joy. that feeling that puts a smile on your face when you ride a bike, and I experienced it every time I took out the Road Ti. Huge thanks to BlackHeart for letting me demo the Road Ti. What an awesome bike. I believe they're launching something in mid-January 2024, so hopefully we'll have some more details on that when the time comes. Anyways, thanks for watching. Until next time.